Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to give everyone just a few minutes to get signed in here. So thanks for joining us. Sit tight, and we'll get going in just a few minutes. Excellent. Let's go ahead and get started here. We want to make sure that we have plenty of time to cover all the fun stuff that we have today. So let's go ahead and get started here. Bring everyone's lovely faces into the picture here. Not just my face. There we go. You can see everyone here. So I'm joined by a wonderful team today. We're going to be talking about Optimizely and HawkSearch, how to easily integrate advanced search for Optimizely's configured commerce. I'm joined by a all-star team today, and we're going to go ahead and do some quick introductions first. Trevor, I'll pass it to you. Go ahead and introduce yourself and your job title, what you're doing, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So my name is Trevor Pope. I'm a solution architect with Optimizely, and my role for the last 10 years has really been around implementing, managing projects, and talking with future and existing customers around how we fit, where we integrate, how it works, and making sure that this solution is right for them or not, but really just to understand the solution at a very deep level, as well as the customers that we work with and their core needs.
Excellent. Excellent. Wonderful to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Very excited to have the conversation today. But I'm also joined by two of my compatriots. We'll go ahead and start with Kyle. Kyle, why don't you do a little quick introduction there?
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. My name is Kyle Mitzner. I'm from Calgary, Canada, and I run our professional services and delivery department over here at HawkSearch and with Bridgeline Digital. So prior to starting in this position, I'd been working very closely with our partner XEngage on the configured commerce connector for HawkSearch. So super excited to show you a few things on how it works today.
Excellent. And last, but certainly not least, Mr. Gavin.
Hi, everybody. I'm sure a lot of people on here have probably spoken to me at some point, but I'm the VP of Sales for HawkSearch. I've been working along with Kyle on this connectivity to the Optimizely platform for years now. So pretty much very committed to this. I'm super excited to definitely be moving this along. And obviously, like Kyle mentioned, having the support of a fantastic partner like XEngage, building the XConnect connector for us has really made this a really exciting journey for us. So I'm happy to jump into some questions.
Excellent. Well, now that you know who we are, let's go ahead and tackle what we're here to discuss. So quickly, to give you a little recap, what we're looking to tackle in this webinar, we're looking to help you understand how easily you can turn on the advanced functionality of HawkSearch, which, as Kyle and Gavin were mentioning there, is part of that wonderful connector that we have built into the Optimizely system. We want you to help understand how HawkSearch can improve that customer journey and also understand the reasons why that's important, not just how we can do that, but what you can benefit from turning these different features on. There's lots of different things that we can do. One of the reasons that we have Trevor here and Gavin and Kyle is not just to say, here's what we do, but here's why we do this. So we're going to have some good conversation around that. And we want to also talk about some of the exciting additions to the product that are on the horizon from both the Optimizely and the HawkSearch end. So lots of good stuff to cover. We're going to go ahead and get into some of these questions now, though, so that you can understand what the whole point of this conversation is. So to begin with, we have the idea here of, the title that we give in this webinar, Accelerating Your On-Site Search for Configured Commerce Customers. So what I'd like to do, I think maybe to help kick off this conversation, lay the groundwork, especially from the Optimizely clients that are joining us here today and watching this. From the Optimizely side, on the company, that when should someone be upgrading from their out-of-the-box search? And Trevor, maybe you can help tackle this. When would, can you dig into who would benefit most from an advanced search like HawkSearch?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our goal at Optimizely is really to create an incredible platform for our customers. And we know that platform will not be all things for all customers. And that's where creating a composable platform that gives our customers options to work with our technology partners and that enables our implementation partners to make choices around what fits them best is one of our core values within this, and it's what our customers need. Customers who are just getting live, customers without maybe hardly any adoption in their customer base, those are the types of customers that probably just want to get something going. Those that are starting to get traction are typically the ones who start identifying needs within their platform that, hey, if I increase exposure of these types of products, if I use different search features as my customers are coming to our online presence, that's what really starts to make an impact into giving customers control and more incremental control over features like search. So I would say someone who has achieved some maturity in digital adoption within our customer base, distributors especially, always have extremely large catalogs. They're looking for ways in which they can expose their customers to more products that they can work into their repeat buying cycles and increase share of wallet with those customers and making them aware of everything that they do. So this is where greater and more granular controls that, more mature teams, digital, commerce teams can really utilize tools like HawkSearch.
Now, I think that lines up pretty well with what we see on our side here, just in terms of that complex catalogs that we run into. That there's some growth that needs to happen initially, and then they get to that point where things are just not quite lining up with what they're expecting. And there's a lot of other options that are out there. Obviously, we can help with that. Gavin, Kyle, anything you'd want to add to that kind of point where we see the needs of someone to step into that advanced search?
Kyle, do you want to start, or do you want me to lead into this?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely start. And what I was going to kind of go into was some of the simple merchandising rules that we can get out of HawkSearch and kind of how that data flows from Optimizely into HawkSearch itself. And I hope you guys can see my screen right now. But I was going to dive straight into a couple rules and what we can do for boosting attributes and a few of the other things that we have going on inside of the HawkSearch workbench. So we'll talk about all these merchandising rules today. I also wanted everyone to be aware that HawkSearch comes with a sort of a whole suite of merchandising capabilities that are built into the tool, included with every instance. We'll review a few of them today. So let's just hop straight in a little bit here. So first of all, the key components of the HawkSearch connector itself is getting data in. Essentially, all the information that you have in Optimizely is sent to HawkSearch. From there, this information can be used in pretty transformative ways, starting with boosting. So the first thing that I just wanted to quickly review is from Optimizely, we do have features such as the field boost that's being transported straight into HawkSearch. So if you have a field boost in Optimizely, that boost gets applied here in the workbench, and you can see the field boost actually gets automatically updated from the Optimizely instance. But then we actually get into some even further boosting and varying rules. And we have what we call a global boost, and we also have some conditional rules as well. So I'll leave it there, and maybe Gav, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I can definitely jump in and kind of to pair off what Trevor was saying about, in the distribution world, when you're having, massive calendars, kind of looking at this a little bit more from more of a use case scenario, and where HawkSearch kind of comes into play if you're kind of entertaining, looking at expanding your search capabilities. A couple of the issues that we've run, I wouldn't say issues, but some of the topics that we've had with distributors that are using the Optimizely kind of platform is kind of this attributual sort of search, instead of maybe a product search. Are we able to boost, if you have a huge catalog, say in the safety space, for example, you've got gloves, but you have maybe 4 variants of color. How can I boost maybe a color? So we have that sort of advanced capability to boost on an attribute. So, how do you look at that from a catalog management? You might have older inventory that's a green glove, but you're not boosting just the glove. You're boosting it based on an attribute. So you can really, from a business use case, as you're adopting into kind of new technologies and you start applying them to your customer's use case, you can really get really finite with HawkSearch in that example. And you can create, like Kyle was saying, global rules for this. So as your catalog expands, or maybe you're adding more of those gloves that you want to continually boost just on an attribute, you can create that sort of environment. So it takes away from kind of per project management, like per product, excuse me. And you can start creating, very unique kind of use case for business cases to help drive larger order volumes, or increasing the wallet sizes you're checking out. But you can also start looking at things like inventory management, right? If you want older stock, you want to boost that to the top to make space for new things, or maybe larger margin items or frequently bought items. You have that capability to start creating overall global use cases versus maybe per product management. So here's my input on that.
No, I think it's all good information there. And Trevor, I'm not
Yeah.
sure if there's anything you want to add to that from your side here. If not, though, I can pass this back over to Kyle. I think what might make more sense to do at this point is to really kind of show the proof in the pudding here. Kyle, you've been gracious enough to pull up this demonstration environment here. Maybe walk us through some of that product boosting, and then we can take a step back and reconvene before we move on to some of the other functionality there.
Yeah, and as you're doing that, Kyle, I would just say that Hawk and you folks, I mean, you focus on search exclusively, and the level of specificity in the features that you're showing right now is part of that example of your focus and what you're delivering in this specific area, about an attribute value search, for instance, and things like that.
Yeah,
excellent, good information.
Absolutely. And yeah, I can jump into a couple of things here. So, I mean, in addition to the boosting, I kind of quickly touched on the field boost. So we get all the data coming in from Optimizely into HawkSearch, and we grab the boosts that you've already set up inside of Optimizely, put them into HawkSearch. That's kind of like the first step, is boosting on a field or an attribute level, depending on what you have set up there. But there's a couple key things here that happens inside the HawkSearch workbench. I mean, the first thing that we need to understand is the AI-based multiplier. So the machine learning that is naturally working in the background without really any configuration needed. This is all something that would be set up by us, but just the easy, the little toggles that we slide up and down to affect the machine learning so that relevant products get boosted to the top of the results. But then we do have our entire merchandising suite, as I was kind of mentioning. We do have some really cool rules in here, and I'll try to highlight most of them today. But starting with the first thing is our boost and bury rules. And we, like I mentioned, we do have our global rules, which can affect products across the board, regardless of how they search. But we can also we can take it kind of one step further with the conditional rules, where we really define how that works. And if there's a keyword that's searched on, or maybe it's a restriction group ID or something like that that's coming from Optimizely to HawkSearch. And that's how we really start to define how these rules work and how your products get returned correctly. So I can cover just a super simple example. We can start here. And then I think a little bit later on, we'll get into some more complicated ones. But this is just a global rule, and all we're doing here, and you can see it's very simple to pick maybe a field that's coming from Optimizely. These are all Optimizely fields here. So we can pick a color. I think that was the example that you used before, Gavin.
Yep.
We can set it to red, and then we can just make sure the stock warehouse is any, or we could pick a specific warehouse. There's kind of a few different ways we could do this. And it's really just as simple as increasing the slider there and hitting save. And then you could also calculate and show your matches to make sure that all your products are being returned the way you're expecting based on the rules here. So that's kind of in a nutshell a global rule. Pretty simple to set up, pretty straightforward, but really effective use of boost and bury.
And actually, Kyle, if you can go back to that screen for 1 second, I want to call attention to some other things that I think are important here.
Sure.
Because you hit on kind of some of the high levels there, and I want to just kind of maybe call attention to them a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because these are things that we see, and Gavin, maybe you can add a little color here, because you were talking about color being a value that we can pull in and use. But specifically also this slider here is something else that we see as a different approach that HawkSearch takes, where From like the Opti backend, it is a we're boosting or we're burying, and there's not really an in between there. But as Trevor was highlighting, this is what we focus in on day in and day out, and so this is something where we have a slightly different approach, where a boost rule doesn't always have to mean it is always pegged to the top of the results, where it can be something that is given a little bit, given literally a boost, a nudge in the right direction, or given a bury in the lower direction, so that you can have things layered in on top of each other. You can have multiple rules interacting with each other. I think it can be a very powerful differentiator. And also just kind of how we can leverage, as you're listing there, the multiple different values that we have, color and the stocked warehouses. We're able to layer multiple different rules as opposed to being a singular attribute-based approach. It can be multiple attributes. It can be dynamic values. It can be, really kind of open-ended in that regard.
Yeah. And to layer even another step on top of that, that can be per account as well, right? So your customer restriction groups, your entitlements, or your personalization, you can boost that. That can be independent of each. It doesn't have to be an overall site thing. It could be very customer specific, and just gives you that layer of depth on that personalization experience as well, for your customers' journey when they're buying as well.
Yeah, Trevor, you definitely know all about the entitlements and the segmentations and the groupings of the customers, because we know that's a very important part of the Opti business, and so we definitely wanted to make sure we were supporting that on this end as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really comes down to curating search, right? It's more than being able to find intentionally, but a business being able to influence the results at a very granular level based on the behaviors that they're trying to drive with their customers. We have found that there's some elasticity within customers' needs, even though it is their job.
Yeah. Well, I think we've kind of covered the boosting section there, but there's another approach to this that I think is important to highlight here, and this is something that we've discussed internally, obviously with the Opti team and on the HawkSearch end here, alternate product boosting. And Kyle, I think you had another demonstration queued up for this. Can you go ahead and walk through the alternate product boosting examples that you had there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll step into the conditional rules. So we talked about the global rules, which kind of affect the products as a whole. The conditional rules is where you kind of really get into some of the more intense situations for a boost and bury, and where you can get into very specific situations on when you want to boost or potentially bury something. So I just made a quick example here, and you can see we've actually added another section here at the bottom, the boost trigger. And so this is actually going to happen on a search. So if a keyword is San Pellegrino, this is just an example, but or if like the product line was San Pellegrino, or it could be maybe a product line was a category. This could be really anything that's coming from your Optimizely data. And then what would happen is that we're actually boosting the alternate part numbers that is associated to these keywords here. So we define the trigger at the bottom, and we can decipher how we want to boost these items. And then we can, as you can see, we actually get the alternate part numbers from Optimizely, and then we can boost them that way. So there's a couple things I did want to highlight with this. This is a boost and bury rule, very specific to an alternate part number. But I also wanted to call out that you don't necessarily need to have this information inside of Optimizely. If you do, that's great. If you don't, that's fine as well, because we can set up some rules inside of Hawk to handle alternate parts as well. So as mentioned before, there's multiple ways to kind of get to the end goal, whether it's like a boost and bury rule or maybe the machine learning. So there's definitely multiple ways to get to that end goal. So I'd also want to draw attention to a couple other sections to kind of highlight how we get to that end goal. And the first one is actually just the synonyms. And you can see here, I've just set up another rule here for synonyms. So we could handle it this way. If we didn't have, say, that alternate part number set up, we could also just handle that with the synonym. Second, we can actually hop straight into the item pinning section in the merchandising rules, where we can set up rules to catch keywords or categories. And then we can basically pin those items at the top of the results. So if we search for San Pellegrino, we could just boost water items or pin those water items, anything that's related to that. And you can see it's a very similar setup here. The trigger could be Pellegrino. So if somebody searched for Pellegrino, we could then pin all the items that are associated to water or anything that's associated to San Pellegrino in this example. Third, we can utilize a combination of global boost rules and conditional rules, which I kind of just highlighted there before. And fourth, there could be a reason that we'd actually want to make use of a visibility rules and maybe hide something completely. And that's in the visibility rules section. So if we had something, for example, that was completely out of stock, we get that data from Optimizely. And you can see here, is stocked or is discontinued is set to 0. Then we could just hide those products altogether. And then, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, one of the things I want to call attention to as you're moving through here is just one of the things that we usually get a lot of good feedback on as you're moving through these different tools and different ways to kind of solve for these different problems is just that this is a pretty uniform experience. This is all using that same kind of presentation. And so whether you're creating a boost and bury rule, you're creating a synonym, or you're creating a visibility rule, it has a very kind of uniform UI. So it's not, you're not learning to reinvent the wheel every time that you're trying to get into creating a merchandising rule here.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. And kind of the last point I just wanted to make was HawkSearch does receive the restriction group IDs, and I believe that's, Gavin, you had mentioned that before.
Yeah.
So we can further tune all these results with those IDs in mind.
Awesome. Well, that's a bunch of good information there, but I know, one of the things that's important here that we want to make sure that we're tackling, we start thinking of advanced search, and we're talking about all the different ways, different tools that are available for someone to help kind of solve for these things. Is you can't have a webinar, you can't have a talk these days without mentioning AI. So we're going to mention AI, and we're going to talk a little bit about it here. So there's a couple of things that we do want to talk about with that. Obviously, there's been a bunch of capabilities. I know on the HawkSearch side, we've got some exciting things to talk about. But Trevor, maybe I'll pass it to you. And I don't. Hopefully, I'm not putting you on the spot here. But what's going on with Opti and AI here? I know you guys have some exciting things that you're working on.
Well, certainly. I mean, across the board, frankly, AI in every one of our products is something that we're focused on, and we've released a pretty extensive amount of AI, both with, kind of chat within tools that, whether it's CMS experimentation, we've started releasing some AI features even within configured commerce, right? In terms of, right now it's kind of automatically writing product content descriptions and things like that. AI in search is not yet. I expect that I will, have at least a beta this year, and hopefully something, to announce later on in terms of when product releases it. But right now, AI in search is third party, third party only for those types of things.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Gavin,
I can. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, we're all aware of the journey with Opti and the AI component, and Hawk has been obviously heavily involved with AI since we kind of hit the streets. But we've got some really exciting stuff that will complement the configured commerce platform extremely well. One of the really exciting parts is it's in our next March release, which is we're calling our Zeus release. And the really fun part about it is this AI component will live in HawkSearch, which is great. So from a connector perspective, once we've got all that information within, we're able to apply these new layers of AI over top. So what you can expect from us, to be honest and straight up with everybody as well, the last part of this kind of component for us is that integration in the UI look and feel of how it's going to look on the HawkSearch side after the connectors come into play and we have pulled everything in. So this is kind of the last stages from that standpoint, so everyone's aware. But what you can really be looking forward to is some exciting stuff. So first off, we're going to go with our concept search, which is kind of like your large language processing search, which allows you to bring in that Google look and feel. I'm looking for an electrical box, or I'm looking for a gray light switch, and it takes all of those and we run it through a vector program. It's going to use and deep dive your entire catalog. So it really opens up everything from an availability perspective. Then we're layering that with some two really cool features, which is our image search. So that's going to allow, from a use case, your users, say if they're in the field, to take a picture with their phone, upload that in for a search perspective and pull the product out, get the SKU number, product number, and make that order. Then we have image description coming, so a vision finder or visual finder, where they can describe the image. Like they maybe, we use the use case a lot, maybe in like say looking for a book, the cover had a butterfly on it, for example, and it's going to search your catalog for that standpoint as well. So that's really exciting. And then the final one to kind of complement what Opti is doing now is going to be that a generative AI. So helping generate synonyms, product descriptions for landing pages, blog content, you kind of name it, and really helps create, takes a lot of that manual lift out for you, to be honest. And especially if you have a smaller team and you don't have a lot of people or more, an experienced manager or something along those lines, this is really going to help fill gaps and help improve relativity, on your search aspect. So we are really excited about it. We've got this in beta with a lot of customers currently, but we're really excited to bring this to the Optimizely customers as well. Hopefully, in the next little while. Yep.
Yeah, and Gav, hopefully I don't get in trouble for showing this off yet, but there's actually a few features that have actually already made it into.
See, I learned. I didn't. He hid this from me. They hid it from me.
Maybe I get in trouble after this webinar, but you can see the Hawk AI is actually already placed inside the workbench. So this is a generative AI that Gavin was mentioning. But I can also super quickly walk through how our concept and image search is going to work. So this is an example I just came up with before we jumped on the call. We just have a little demo site here. But you can see if I search on keywords of eye protection, I don't really get any relevant results back because there's nothing in the product data set that matches exactly on eye protection that would be relevant here. Now, if I switch to, you can see I can actually switch to concept. So this will be the concept search. And I do the same search. I actually get goggles back. I get some sunglasses back. This is obviously an adventure site. So this isn't exactly eye protection, but it would be, I guess, in the sense of outdoor adventure world. And then finally, I can show off the image search. So you can see I just loaded in a new image here. This is just an image downloaded from Google. If you go to Google and search for snowboarding goggles, this will be one of the first results that come up. And you can see some of the results coming back. It's actually matching. And here I can even redo this search. I can re-execute this search. So if I go to the image search, and it won't let me clear the image out for some reason. Here, I'll drop photos in. Well, here, I'll just drag and drop it over. Here we go. I'll drop in a new one, actually. There we go. There we go. And we get some goggles and we get some sunglasses back. So stuff that's relevant to the image that I drop in.
And some exciting stuff. Yeah. And also too, you're noticing the way that the image is posted as well, right? You have a front facing image, but your catalog, maybe all images are sideways or, has this really unique capability to pull it. And so that's an exciting from a distributor standpoint. You can imagine if you've got, 1 million products and all of your data is not fully descriptive from a keyword perspective, this is just going to open up your entire catalog and really see that wallet growth that Trevor was referring to earlier.
Excellent. I know we're coming up here on time, but I want to make sure that we get to the rest of the topics that we've outlined here. Gavin, one of the things that I think you've been really focusing on working with Trevor and working with Opti is not just kind of the feature sets that are here, but how this can help with the salesperson's job and kind of what we can bring for the business beyond just kind of the customer results here. Can you talk to that for a little bit?
Yeah. This is kind of a little bit of a passion project for me, actually, as of late. I've been attending some phenomenal distribution webinars and conferences and with large, massive distributors. And one of the biggest things was basically the evolving role that internal salespeople have within distribution. I used to be very product focused. They were kind of limited to where they could get their analytics from a buying perspective or looking at histories. It was a very kind of manual process. So kind of that evolving kind of role is now more into like account management perspective versus just kind of flinging products around. So kind of that harnessing the analytics from a customer insight perspective now allows internal sales teams to get really like a 360 degree view, like a full idea of what their customers have been buying, what they've been looking at, and it's really empowering them to help drive more business from them. So HawkSearch obviously has a massive suite of analytics, trending analytics, keyword analytics, conversions. What do they look for if they've come to the site, left the site, engaged with the product? So, I mean, that is just from a salesperson perspective, like that's, phenomenal insight. And it really shows the adaption of kind of new technologies within kind of the platform as well. So kind of goes back to Trevor's point, as people start adapting technologies like search, it has a lot larger use case in a lot of scenarios that are going to help benefit the customer as well. So this is something I could talk about for a long time, and I'm going to cut it short. But yeah, I'm really excited about, helping our customers and Opti customers kind of utilize our tool for other reasons other than just sometimes search.
Yeah, no, that's great information there. And really, I know that we are at time here. We're going to be respectful of everyone's time. We thank everyone for joining us here today. The last little bit that we want to touch on, though, we didn't even get a chance to talk about how easy it is to actually toggle on HawkSearch in the back end of Opti. Something that obviously we were mentioning earlier with the connector with Xengage. We're happy to have that as a conversation to follow up. So maybe that's a further call to action here. Is to reach out to us, set up a time to do a demonstration with us, and we've tried to make that as simple as possible here. There's a quick QR code you can scan on your screen here. Go ahead and take your phone out, scan that QR code. That'll go ahead and give you the ability to very easily set up a demonstration with us. We can make that as Gavin can attest there. There's lots of information that we can talk about, not just from a features and functionality perspective, but also just kind of how we can help your business and work with, the Optimizely folks like Trevor to make sure that we're delivering kind of the best advanced search capabilities for you guys today. With all of that said, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. It has been a wonderful conversation. There's been lots of great information. Trevor, in particular, I want to thank you for stepping in here. We know there was some staffing issues with sickness and illness, and you're kind of jumping in here. Yeah, travel.
Yeah, you've been all over. So we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Really do appreciate it. It's been a pleasure having your input on this call. It's been fantastic. Kyle, Gavin, as always, a pleasure talking to you, gentlemen. For everyone joining us today, thank you again, and we'll look forward to talking to you on the next webinar.
Great stuff.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
guys.
everybody. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.